Cool, guys. Cool. Thanks, Lauren. Thanks, Lauren. Keeping us on time as always. Hey guys, I'm Joe from the Jaws Real Estate Group and eXp Realty. We are here on our weekly training that we do. Weekly means we do it every week, right? So we come from abundance, right? We don't come from scarcity. We believe that everyone succeeds together. We think that there's enough business out there for everyone, right? And we think that like what we want to do, we also feel like the industry is changing really fast, and we want to align with people that are succeeding at a really high level and that are adapting to the industry. And that's why we're here, right? So we share ideas, whether you're with XYZ brokerage or you're with, by the way, we don't talk about brokerages really on this call. We don't talk about brokerages ever really. So no matter what brokerage you're at, no matter where you are, we invite everyone to join in. We're happy that everyone is here. This started off as just like the Joe Oz group training, right? And then we realized like this would be a lot more fun if we can invite our friends. And so we're just going to be constantly, we really like circulating and then recirculating energy, right? And what that looks like is all of our tricks, all of the things that we do, we're going to share them because it's just more fun that way. And what we also learned is when you share your tricks and your secrets, nobody really implements, right? Except for like the really high level people that want to succeed. And the people that keep coming back are those people. And I want to thank everybody for being here. Also, I'm not, I don't want to point anybody out or whatever, but we love cameras on unless you're driving or naked or whatever. Like we love, you don't go to a meeting, you don't go to a conference with a bag on your head, right? Like, so here we invite interacting. We want people to be present, and we want people to kind of jump in, ask questions, things like that. So, one other thing I'm going to mention, we have a Facebook group called Fast Forward East Coast, right? So we're going to drop our videos in there. If we mention a script, we're going to make this easy, right? So when we would do a training, we would say, if you want this, email this, right? So if you like, we need you to like our page. If you're on this right now, we'll send you an invitation after it's over. But if we talk about something or we say a script or a link or something like, it's kind of like when you listen to a podcast and they're like, oh, we'll put that in the podcast notes if they reference a movie or a song or something like that. We're going to do the same thing, right? And so if you go back to our Facebook group, what we're going to do is we're going to drop all that stuff in there. Cool. So if you want a listening presentation, guess where it's going to be after this? It's going to be in there. We just ask you to like our group and also contribute, right? If you have questions and things like that, we want that to be a community where we can all share ideas. So with all that being said, I'm really excited to sit here and introduce Sam Marx, right? So Sam Marx, I met Sam Marx. Geez, I don't even know, man. I met Sam Marx something like how long has it been, dude? 2019?
End of 2019.
End of 2019. Jesus.
Yeah.
So Sam, how many months have you been a realtor?
I got licensed like March of 2020, so a year and a half.
Cool. And then written and closed, how many units have you done in that time?
48.
48. Cool. So about a year and a half, Sam Marx did about 48 deals, right? And it was really funny when I met Sam, and when I met Sam and I met Gil and all these people that we were just decided to get into business with, we were starting a business brand new in New Jersey. We're starting the Joe Oz Real Estate Group 2.0. And we weren't, and if you guys know, I'm not in Asbury Park, New Jersey, right? Like I kind of go back and forth, but I'm not really there. Sam came in as an agent, and kind of we said, I think I said, yo, just do everything I tell you to do. It's all going to work out. It's going to sound insane. And then it started clicking. I love Sam because Sam, he follows the model, man. He believes that success leaves clues. And he believes the believable person, right? Which is what we do, right? So if something, it's like we don't take weight loss advice from kind of like a bigger person, but we will take the weight loss advice from the person that is in shape. And that's kind of what that looks like, right? And Sam does that, man. He follows the model, he follows the systems. Everything that we do, on our sales meeting, we talk about who we are. We have a section where we talk about who we are every week. And this week we talked about, we said who we are is we're not good. This is who we aren't. We're not good. We're trained. And what that means is, I'll share this with you guys. I know I did a panel once on scripts or something like that, and people kept saying how good I was. And the fact is I wasn't really good. I was just trained. I just practiced. I never had an advantage over, I always say I'm not 7 feet tall, so I can't just dunk a bat. I can't walk onto the basketball court and just dunk, right? Like that never happened for me, right? Like it's because we follow the model, we believe the believable person, we ask questions, we fail forward, and that's what Sam does, and that's what I love about him. And today he's going to talk. So Sam was in our organization. You have to earn the opportunity to go on listing appointments, right? And in our organization, listing appointments will be set for you, right? And so you have to master our listing appointments. So our listing, I made a video about this that we put out earlier in the week. So at one point, the listing presentation that we do, I filmed it. We filmed it. We went into a studio. We filmed it. We had we have a deck, like a presentation that's on a computer that was behind us. That was behind me, and I had a seller at the table. Like we pretended we were at the kitchen table, and we acted it out. We did the whole thing. Like I did a live listing presentation, and the deck was behind me, and we walked through it. Now, that's like the foundation, right? Sam, would you agree? That's like the foundation. We're not following that thing like a robot, but what that does is that gives you a good jumping off point, right? And now, what Sam, in order to earn the right to be our lead listing agent, which means Sam just goes on all the listings, man. And if he can or whatever, someone else will, but Sam goes on that, man. Sam has to understand. He has to go through that training. He has to learn the script. He had to go to Gil Olson's house and sit down and do a listing appointment at Gil Olson's house. He had to come to my house over Zoom and do a listing appointment at my house as well. And then once Sam did that, he was graded, he graduated, and he became the lead listing agent. Sam will tell you a secret. Gil just didn't want to do it anymore as well. He had taken 50 listings in 1 year and put about 50,000 miles on his car. So he kind of, you might have gotten it anyway.
It wasn't a secret. I didn't sign up to do it.
Not a secret. If you follow his Instagram account, it was no secret.
Listen, if the toilet overflows and you're the only one in the office, you got to fucking clean it up, right? So anyway, dude, Sam, I'm going to hand it over to you, man. I love you. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being a part of this thing and exploring this opportunity with us. And tell us, I think you're going to go over how you prepare for listing appointments, what happens on the listing appointment. And I'm going to give it over to you.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. Thank you for the intro, Joe. Hello, everybody. It's good to see a lot of people that I know, some people that I don't know, but welcome. And I'm excited and grateful for the opportunity to share. What this really, Joe kind of touched on it, but this training is not about me. This training is about what we've been doing. We as a team and a group have been doing where we've seen success. And then I'm just going to share that with you. And that is almost one of the same exact things that I say at the beginning of a listing appointment when I meet somebody. This is not about me. This is not about how great I am. This is about what we're seeing in the market, what sort of success we've been having in the market. And I'm just going to relay that information to you. And in 30 minutes, we'll shake hands or I'll answer all your questions. So that's this training is going to go the same way. So it's, the focus here is not me. The focus is the success. I'll say, Joe, just to cap on what Joe said about me getting ready to be a listing agent, I did shadow Gil on maybe 7 or maybe 10 listing appointments where I kind of just stood there like an idiot and felt really awkward while Gil talked to these guys. And I just I'm just the guy here in the corner. Some of them I was there as the buyer's agent, so it made a little bit more sense, but some of them were awkward, but I did just kind of absorb it. And one really big thing that I took away from that was after those appointments, I would always ask, in our cars or when we drove away, I would ask Gil and say you got to tell me how I did. Because as we went along, I'd start to say a little bit more and chime in and whatever, not just be the guy, the fly on the wall. I'd be like, how'd I do? And one time Gil said, you were fine. 3 separate times in that appointment, you said back the same exact thing that I just said. You just parroted. You said, he said, is this a new kitchen? You said, is this a new kitchen? And I had no recollection of that. I did not realize that. And I was like, I don't believe you, but I do believe you. It must have happened or else you wouldn't have said it. So you have to ask people for honest opinions and honest advice. And that's why, I think Joe mentioned maybe at one point a while back, you recorded a listing appointment and listened to it. It's the same way we record our calls and listen to them. But so if you're going to shadow people, it's useless if you don't afterwards ask them what the hell you did wrong. So that was very helpful. What I do, I'll jump right into meeting someone at their house, right? Before I get to the door, first of all, it's like I have to be in the right mindset to get into a listing appointment. Sales is not something that I did my whole life. It's all a little bit new to me. So like if I'm listening to the radio or music in the car, I will stop like a block early, turn off the radio, relax for a second, kind of get into just like, here we go, we're about to go talk to somebody for 45 minutes that you've never met before. It's like a different thing. And I also make sure I've got my paperwork and stuff in my bag is all prepared and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's pretty key. And then when I meet them, just like to take control right from the beginning. Like this is something I had to learn. Like you're the professional. They called you over to your house at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday night because they need your direction and your guidance. So right from the beginning, I just introduced myself. You know, thank you for your time and all that. Coming to the house, and they want to start talking about the house right away. I'm going to say, is there a place for me to put my bag down? That's where I kind of like, so I can just stop them from talking real quick. I've got this bag. I'm like, is it okay if I put this down here? Sure. Great, thanks. What I'd like to do here today, I want to be really respectful of your time. I want to take about 30 to 45 minutes. I want to, if you could show me around the house, 5-10 minutes, really quick, to talk about what's new. Then we can come sit down wherever's comfortable for you. And I can share with you who the hell I am, right? Why I'm here, what our team does. And we can talk obviously about price, because I know that's going to be important to you. So like, I just fire that out at the beginning, because you have to take that control of the conversation before they're just like, the siding's falling off. They're like, okay, wait, like we'll get there, I promise. So I like to set it up that way. I like to keep the walkthrough really, really short, right? And I say that right away, like 5-10 minutes. If you could show me around the house and just point out anything that's that's new since you've bought it or recently updated, just kind of tell me as we go. Then as we're going through the house is where I'm starting to, you know, build that rapport. I'm asking about, I want to know where they're going, right? What their game plan is. Do they need a buyer's agent? So is that happening in the back of my head? We're going through all that sort of information. Keep that super short. And then I've also had times where you get stuck, like Gil and I got stuck talking to someone in the rain for like 45 minutes in their driveway, and we hadn't even finished like the walk through of the house. It was so long. And just like, why are we stuck here? So right at the end of that 5 minutes, I'm like, great, looks like I've seen the house. Thanks for showing me. If we can sit down, then I can have a conversation with you about our pricing and marketing and answer any of your questions. That sounds good. So we get back to the table, got to get there. I'm going to share my screen from here. Can I be made the owner so I can do that?
Yeah, you can.
Share your screen, Sam.
There we go. So I don't use like a deck. I don't use a listing presentation. I'm sure some people have really great ones and really organized ones. I tried it. Gil used it. It worked really well for him. It just didn't feel right for me. So what I use is tabs. And I want to make sure you guys can see. Get this thing out of that way. Can you see my screen?
I can hear you. It's Flex MLS.
Good. Okay, good. So my listing presentation is just a Chrome window that I work from left to right on. It's just preset. This is how I set this up either the night before or a few hours before, whatever it is, the listing appointment. I've got a couple of things here that I go through, and I'll go through them as I go through them, but this is what I have. I've got the CMA, it's here, it's ready to go. That's the first thing. That's what everyone wants to talk about. So I talk about it first, right? I like naturally, I wanted to like always introduce myself. Who's the team? Who's the group? Why are we here first? But it just didn't feel right. So I do that afterwards. I've got our Zillow page up here. That's the who the heck are we? Here's our, 721 sales, our 240 reviews. That's me right there, right? This is like, who are we, why we're here. I like to have this up. This is their tax record, because they're going to have questions. They don't know how many square feet their house is, right? They might not know if the bedroom downstairs is legal or not. So I default to the tax record. I want this up, and it shows that you did your homework, right? Like you're ready to go. I also have the tax record of like the house that I think is the perfect comp ready to go. So when we're talking about comparisons, that's right there next to it. We can pull up square footage and stuff like that, garage side by side. I've got Motion City Media is our marketing production company. I've got the house ideal. I mean, this is a house 2 houses down the street from the one that I randomly picked to do my CMA on. but we've sold houses in Neptune, right? So I want to show them that we've sold a house in Neptune. If it's a beachfront property in Spring Lake or a lake property in Brick or something like that, I want something similar to show them. You don't want to go to like a $4 million listing and show them a $200,000 comp. It doesn't matter, but it will matter to them. So I've got that ready to talk about our media and marketing. For us, we just started doing video. So I've got like this awesome video ready, queued up. I've got a seller net sheet here. End of the conversation, if they're buying too, they might want to know like what's their payoff, what's their buying power. That's right. And this isn't pretty, right? Like this is not a very beautiful looking slide. It's just something that I think Gail put together and shared with me. But they love it. They're like, oh my God, this really helps at the end, right? And then I don't have a calendar up, but I usually am prepared with just iCal there, so we can talk about timing. So
Sam,
that is everything.
What do they want to talk about? Number one, like when you get in the door, you said it's usually price, and they're just like really excited to tell you about how expensive the carpet was they put in the living room, right? Like what's the thing that they get most excited about, and what's the thing that they, and I guess it probably depends on their personality type, right?
Yeah, usually it's value, price. They want to know the comps, they want to know the prices, that sort of stuff. So that's why I'm just prepared to like, it's not a rebuttal, but I don't want to have that conversation right away. I want to talk about the house. I want to see the house so that the number in my head makes a little bit more sense. So it's, hey, since we spoke, I've looked at the comps, I looked at the comparable home sales in the neighborhood in the past year. I've got that all ready for you on my computer. After we see the house, after I get an idea of what the product is and what we're selling, what we have on our hands, then I'll absolutely talk to you about price. I know that's important to you. So yeah, that's going to be top of mind for them. But that is why I go to it first. So when I sit down at the table, yeah, I say yes to the glass of water. They offer you a glass of water, say yes, get the yeses going, obviously. And it's hot as hell here lately, so that's great. So I'm at the table, I pulled this up right away. I've got their address on it, 1212 6th Avenue. That's important for me because going to a lot of appointments, sometimes you forget the address of the house that you're sitting in. So this one's super important. And I like to pull back the curtain, like open up, like this is how I did this, right? Sometimes I'll do this at the table, but it's obviously better to have it prepared. So I show them like, this is a house in Neptune, here at Jersey Shore, if you guys know the area. Bradley Park is a very specific neighborhood. So I show them exactly what I did. I said, listen, the houses that I'm going to show you, I've mapped out this area. We usually do a half-mile radius. Now in this area, a half-mile radius is going to run us into Bradley Beach and Ocean Grove. Those are multi-million-dollar oceanfront properties. Not going to be a comp for your neighborhood. So I've cut this out. That gives us about 55 sales in the last 12 months. Now, not all of those are comps. And this is really good to have the first one too, because you can really set up the range and you start to set up, like you can put their mind frame in like a more realistic space. So like that comp in your neighborhood, that runs you all the way down from 170,000 to 485,000. Now, if the estimate on this thing is like 300, you could say something like, we know we're not this, right? And they say, oh, of course, we're not $500,000. Yeah, okay. But we also know we're not this, right? So my job here, this is in price order. This is like a totem pole. My job is to figure out where you sit in the, in this range. And to help us do this, now I switch over to my actual comps, right? To help you do this, I've honed in on the 3-bedroom, 1-bath properties that are more similar and a little bit closer to where we are. And that's going to give us this sort of range. Now we're talking about a range of, this is the old listing. Really important, if it's on the MLS, if it was sold before, I'd like to have the old listing there. This is from 3 years ago, just so that you can have a reference point. So really the range now is 236 to 436, right? And I don't want to eat up all the time going through this part of it for the training purposes, but what I do from here is I've already kind of got this mapped out in my head. I like to start from the bottom personally. Give them, because they're going to want, their house is better than everyone else's house, right? So they're going to want to like shit all over someone's house really quickly. So start at the crappiest one, right? And you go right to the crappiest. Well, this one's got plenty of bad pictures, right? So there. Ideally, if their kitchen is better than this, they're going to, oh, that's not me. Okay. So we know we're out of this range, right? So now I'm just going to keep on kind of doing that. There's 19 of these, so I'm not going to go through all of those, but as we start to pick through, we're really just comparing photos, and I'm kind of studying them as this goes, right? Like once I make the jump up to, let's say, $399, right? And I jump into, this is a flip. I mean, it looks like everyone's latest flip, right? And if this is better than their house, what do you guys think of that one? They're going to start to tell you, yeah, that kitchen's a lot nicer than ours. Or like, oh, they've got a full basement that can be finished. You don't. So now we're honing in, we're getting closer, right? When I'm going through that CMA, I really do everything that I can not to give them a price. Everybody wants a price. Some people are going to say that right when you walk in the door. What's it worth? Just tell them you don't know. That's what I do. If I'm at the doorway, I have no idea what it's worth. I haven't seen it yet, right? So let's see the house. We'll sit down and we'll talk about the comp. Now that I've seen the house and we're going through it, I like to ask them and give them an idea. One thing I don't have up here that I should is I usually like to have their Zillow for their house up too, so that the estimate's there. And I like to ask them what they think about that. So Zillow, sometimes even before I start that CMA, hey, Zillow says your house is worth $474,000. How do you feel about that? Oh, we love that. If they love that, then I love that, right? That's okay. That's fine. That's a good spot to be at. Now I know what I'm working towards or away from, right? It kind of like sets your expectation. Now, if the Zillow says 375, but I have in my head that the comps are probably like 330, I know I've got a little bit of work to do. And what I'm going to start to show them is the stories that these things tell, right? Like this, I'm going to move you guys out of my way here. $399 in 6 days. That's a good sale, right? 430 closes, is listed at 419. That closes in 5 days. These are all good signs. As you get up to, let's see, 409. Yeah, these are all good. There's nothing here in my comps that tells me they couldn't get that number, right? If I had a bunch of numbers at like 475 that took 80 days to sell and took 2 price reductions, I'd be working them away from those numbers. So just like I'm kind of doing this live with you guys right now, that's how I do it in person. Before I move away from like the CMA conversations, any questions about the conversation around pricing?
Well, Sam, I'd like to say something. I think you kind of just said, you were like, and then, I'll let it definitely open up to this is real. You were like, hey, I don't want to spend a lot of time on the price. There's a reason why you do the price first. You know why? It's because that's the hardest. That's where they're going to love your media. They're going to love that you're going to send postcards to the neighborhood. They're going to love that you're going to do a movie about their house. They're going to love that you're going to do a Matterport. They're going to love that you're going to put a sign in their yard. They're going to love, they know everything else. The thing is that's where, if there's ever going to be a confrontation or whatever, it's going to be right there, right? And then obviously the commission, which I'm sure Sam will get to or whatever, but what'll happen is if there's going to be a confrontation about price, they're going to be really emotional. Those people, I don't care what anyone says, they already have a number in their head. I don't care what they're like, and I don't know. Sam used a really great script that everyone should write down and use. Is he pulled up the Zestimate, right? And he was like, oh, Zillow says your house is worth blank. How does that make you feel? Because, dude, that puts the blame on Zillow, right? Like, that's not you. Like, dude, have you ever set a price and then all of a sudden you feel like the owner's going to pick you up and throw you through the window? You know what I mean? Like, I don't. Yeah. Hopefully, I've done it because I've done it wrong, right? But yeah, he's right. So a lot of times, what I'll do is, a thing that I do is I'll walk into someone, dude. It's like they say, like in negotiations, the first person that talks loses, right? Like, you just want to know where their head's at. You're going to sell their house. Like, I know that I'm going to sell their house for the most amount of money possible. I'm the best person for the job. I know that we're going to do Google pay-per-click. We're going to use Facebook target marketing. We're going to do the best media. We're going to do everything the best that anyone possibly can do. And our numbers show it. But I want to know where their head's at, right? Because I don't want them to bite my head off, And also I want to manage their expectations. So when I walk in, I'm like, hey, is it okay if I take off my shoes? All right, cool. Like the thing Sam was saying, when you're putting the bag down, it's like someone's inviting you in a house. I kind of will just be like, cool, man. Wow, you guys have a really nice house. I can't wait to see it. By the way, what do you guys think your house is worth? And I'll do it really like nonchalantly like that. I'll be like, cool, well, I'm excited to see it. What do you guys think the house is worth? and then I'll just like stop talking, no matter how weird it gets. Like I'll let the silence do the heavy lifting, and more often than not, they'll be like, well, and they'll just start talking, and then I'll know. So if I'm in a house that's worth $500,000, and they're like, yeah, we kind of, and they know like, whatever, if they're 2 blocks from the beach and the one on the beach is sold for $1 million, they're like, well, our neighbor sold for $1 million. In my head, I'm like, all right, I know I have your house that's 2 blocks from the beach or whatever, and you don't have a driveway and everyone's parking on the street versus the house that's over here on the beach and it's got a 3-car garage and all that. Like, I know I have some rebuttals to walk through, and I'm preparing myself mentally for that. Does that make, like that's what's important, right? So like, that's why we do price first. There's really, you get to the house, you walk through the house, and then you sit down, and then you go right to price. And if for some reason you can't come to a meeting of the minds on price right there, which happens a lot, you can be like, cool, awesome. Well, I know where you guys are at. Let's put a bookmark here. Let's move on. And then while you're going through the presentation, you're going to get more in a relationship with them. And then you're just going to make a decision whether you want to take the listing or not. Does that make sense, Sam? I'm sorry. I just wanted to get in there with that.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And when you get to the end of that conversation, and I've done hour-and-a-half appointments because we're going through this CMA, this screen right here, for 45 minutes. They want to know, does this one have the garage versus that one on a main road? And like, that's fine. Because if you don't nail this conversation, the rest of it is just, you could just walk out of the house probably. It's just like, it's not going to be worth it. The fact that you did a cool video where you hung out in someone's house is not going to get it if you bomb on the entire price conversation. So I will take the time necessary to go through this with them. And then, like you said, Joe, at the end of that conversation, a lot of times, Gil and I just went on one together. You'll say, well, I'll say this. I'm getting into the stories that the comps are telling, right? Like the 399 sold in 4 days for 425. Great. The one listed at 450 sold in 80 days for 425. Which one do you want to be? Which sale would you rather have? They're going to say the one that sells quicker, right? And then a lot of times they'll just put a number right on it. And they might say, like, I'll say, given everything we just went over and what we're looking at right here, and I'll kind of like circle the one I'm talking about that I think is right. What do you think about the price of your house? Or what do you think the best way to price your house would be? And sometimes they'll just say, it sounds like 375 will get the most eyes on it. I think that's a really great idea. It sounds like we're on the same page about that. You want to move on and talk about how we market the houses? Yes, right. So if they put a number on it, good, you can move right on. If they don't, fine. It sounds like we're talking about a realistic range between 350 to 399 to sell your house. Maybe we're in a market where we can test a slightly higher number. If we're on the same page about that, you want to move on and talk about how we market the houses and how we've seen success in this neighborhood. Great. At least I've got a range kind of set up in our head that we can move on to.
Can I jump in for 2 seconds?
Yep.
The approach is definitely just managing expectations, and it's like you can be flexible on the price if that's really, really important to them, or they think that it really is. You need to understand that you're walking in 9.5 times out of 10, 95 times out of 100. There's going to be a massive information and perception asymmetry between you and your understanding of exactly what the process is, how it works, and exactly what is in their best interest in terms of price, and what the clients or potential clients' expectation of what they think. And they're coming into they invited the doctor into their house, and they're telling you what you should prescribe them. And that is probably not the way to go in any other industry or profession. But because of Zillow, because they live in their house, they are the expert on their house. They're not the expert on the people that are out in the market coming into their house and making bids on their house. So there's this, because it's so personal, because they are an expert on the house itself, and this perceived expertise on the market because of things like Zillow and the Zestimate, they know enough to get themselves into trouble in a certain way like that. And when you're having this conversation, you're telling the story, and you're basically setting yourself up there like, okay, if you really think it's important to start at a higher number, we can definitely do that. And I view it as like you're giving them the honest answer of like, yo, I'm being honest with you of what I think is in your best interest. If you want to do counter to that, I'll work with you. I want to help you get to your goal. But at no point in this conversation did I ever, in all the 500 appointments I went on, ever like sell anybody that their house was worth more than it was, right? We talked about
Yeah.
realistic expectations, what could happen. And I've definitely lost listings that somebody else got because I was honest with the people about what their price was, and they didn't want to hear it. They weren't ready to hear it, so they went with somebody else. And I can point to addresses of listings that I've lost because of my honesty, and I'm okay with that because I still got 50 of them in a year. And then what happened is the reason all those 50 sold is because I was honest on the front end, and they still decided to work with us even if we started higher. When it came time 25, 30 days, 45 days later to talk about like, hey, it hasn't sold because of those reasons we talked about, I could go run the same CMA and show that the people that bought the houses in their neighborhood were at the houses that they bought in the time they were on the market. And then they're willing to listen. And I'm not like, we're not having this conversation of like, yo, you told me my house was worth 475 and now you're telling me it's not going to sell for over 4. That never happened to me. I'm always the guy who's saying 375 to 399, and then I turn around and over deliver at 410, and they're pumped. Because you start with reality, and that's why this part is so important in the way we approach it.
Yeah, and I think, Gil, the way you explained it to me a while back was that you're having what may need to be a price reduction conversation right there at the listing appointment, right? Because you're already getting to that second, third conversation. It's like, given the story, given what's out there, I think we're on the same page that we can successfully market and sell your home in this range, 375, 399. If pricing it a little bit higher, is really important to you. We're in a market where we can test that number, and I say this. I say, you know what happens when we hit the market? Every Monday, we list houses on a Tuesday. Every Monday, I'm going to give you a call, and either I'm going to give you a call saying, because we're going to review the offers we have, or I'm going to share the feedback I have with you. Generally, we say that if we're getting showings, but no offers, if we're not getting any showings, we're about 10% overpriced. If we're getting showings but no offers, we might be about 5% overpriced. If we're getting showings, offers, but not the ones that we specifically love, we're probably okay to hang out for another week and talk again at the end of that next week, right? So all of that's already happened.
Hey, Sam, I wanted to say this to everyone listening, man. Sam just said something really important, man. Really, really important, because things will change. This isn't like, I'm not trying to scare anybody. The market will change, you guys. And I don't know about you, but I'm going to be in it till, I don't know, forever. But like Sam just said that that the price reduction conversation starts at the listing appointment. And I'm going to point out that's one of the most important things that he has said on this call. You're going to get to a market where houses aren't selling in 15 minutes with 5,000 offers, right? You're going to get into a harder market, and if someone's motivated, we take every listing. So this is just about managing expectations. So if you're taking notes, make sure to write that one down, because that one is huge. The price reduction starts at the listing appointment, and we take every listing unless the person is like an unreasonable person or unethical or something like that. Thanks, Sam. This is awesome.
100%. And yeah, if you start practically and sober, that conversation is just you're never backtracking on your words. You never put yourself in a position of, hey, you told me X and now it's Y, or X times 0.8. You want it to be the other way around.
And take good notes in your CRM, because I have 2 right now that are probably going to have some sort of a pricing conversation. And I went back and I looked at the notes I took the day after the listing appointment, and I made, recommendations in this range. We decided to price it in this range, and now we're probably coming back to this range. So I know that when I was at the table, this is kind of what we predicted might happen. So not that I want it to happen, but it's as long as you have the conversation, you're in a good position.
Because you don't know the first, it's really important to say, there's so much nuance here, but it's really important to say that, to be honest, that you don't know. It's very rare that you can know that it's definitely that this house in Asbury Park that didn't sell was not going to sell at 750. That the $400,000 house in Bradley Beach is not going to sell for 250, right? The buyer's offer is not going to accept it or whatever. Sort of a range, but nobody really knows who's actually going to show up, right? And because you don't know that, it can go either way. And when you're honest about that and just straightforward about that, it gives you the superpower of leaning in, of like, look, we could test it. I don't know, maybe we'll get lucky, and that would be awesome. And it has happened. I have been proven wrong on the upside too. It's just it's a much easier conversation to have.
Yeah, you want to have it in the upfront. If there's no other questions about pricing, and assuming we're going through a listing appointment here, if I've gotten to that point where the potential client and I are at least comfortable on hopefully a number, maybe a range, I do want to move on, right? I want to respect their time. I don't want to be at their house for 2 hours, my time as well. So I'll jump into, next I'll kind of jump into, it kind of depends on how it goes. A lot of times actually from here, I probably would go to timing, because they'll start to have questions if it's going well and everyone is kind of on the same page. And I'm sort of just sharing who we are and what we do. As a way to get into the marketing conversation, I'll pull up a calendar and I'll say, right, so as far as our marketing works, guys, we have data that proves to us, like over our 100 transactions a year, 700 plus transactions since we've been in business. We list houses on Tuesdays because we have data that tells us that's the best day to get the most exposure. The way it generally goes is something like this. We'll list on a Tuesday. You'll get a couple, some showings might come in that same night. You might get a couple people trickling in. A lot of people will save it for the weekend, which we'll do an open house on Sunday from 12 to 3. So we do our open houses. And by Monday morning, like I said, I'll be reaching out to you. We'll have talked throughout that time, but I'll be reaching out to you to share with you any feedback. If there's offers, we'll discuss those, so on and so forth. Now you're getting into that whole timing conversation, and then you can jump right into marketing from there. Because I'll say something like, if we're here, if I'm on an appointment right now, I can't list that house on the 24th. Not enough time. So to give us enough time for our professional marketing and our media, and to create our advertising plan for the sale of your house, we'd be looking at the soonest, probably the 31st. We can aim to do photography and media maybe around somewhere between 24th and 26th next week. Now, the way we market our homes is every single property gets top of the line professional photography. We work with the top production company here in New Jersey. This is a house actually just down the street that we sold recently, and I'll take them through this. So everyone's going to get interior, exterior. This is where it comes down to this sort of like an a la carte conversation to have here. It depends on what the house needs. This is just interior, exterior photos. That's probably all this house needed at the time, right? If it's near the ocean or anything like that, you might want to do a drone video. So like have that ready. We've got, I'll go into my Motion City Media and I can pull up any property that I think is necessary. So if you want to show them the drone video, show them that. If you want to have a Matterport ready, then because you think that's important, you want to show them that, like a digital scan. Now you don't want to overshow anything, right? If it's like a beaten down, like fixer up or like a flip investment property that probably doesn't need a drone video, you might not want to show the person a drone video because they're going to want that, right? And it's totally unnecessary to sell the house. So be smart about what you show them. We'll have that marketing prepared there. I will show our video if it's a house that I think we'll probably do a video on. I'll show them this marketing video that we did. And then I kind of jump back and explain to them what's really important about listing with who you list your house with is you want to be listing with a team that has the track record that Zillow is going to send them the best buyers, right? That's when I start to get into a conversation about, because we have 240 reviews, because we have 700 sales, when a buyer comes in and clicks contact agents, a lot of times it won't go to the listing agent. They might think they're talking to the listing agent. A lot of times they'll just go to a local agent in the area who's motivated not to sell your house, but they're motivated to sell any house, right? Sell any house to that buyer. We want that phone call to come to us. We're in a position on Zillow that we will receive those phone calls, right? So we'll be in control of all the buyers who come through your house, majority of the buyers that come through your house, I should say. And we obviously have the motivation of selling your house for you. So that's a benefit to you. I don't have like a slide or a sheet about it, but I just mentioned that we do, the sign in the front yard isn't what's going to sell the house. We put our money and our marketing efforts into Facebook and Zillow ads, right? Let them know that we're going to be online targeting the people, maybe New York, Philadelphia, North Jersey, whatever it is, who are going to be coming and looking at your house, because we know that's most likely where the house is going to sell. And quite frankly, I don't spend a lot of time talking about our marketing and our media. Like the amount of time that I just did to show you that and maybe play a video is probably about it. I don't get a lot of questions on that one, right? I would be curious to know if other people do, but we don't get a ton of questions there. A lot of times, like I said, like if the pricing conversation went well, and this is kind of already like, this is how we'll do it. Now I'm jumping back. And if I got the calendar here. This is when you got to kind of feel it out. But at this point, if I'm talking about timing, now I'm reaching for my bag, right? And I've got my folder with my stuff in it that Lauren has so wonderfully prepared for me. And this is where I have some stuff. So when I talk about, as I'm talking about marketing and photos, I'm giving them the Motion City Media prep your home sheet, right? Now I've got the folder out, there's papers on the table, it's starting to get a little bit more serious. I'm giving them this, take that, that's for you to have to prep your home. And then if I'm feeling good about it, I just take out the listing agreement and start filling it out as we're talking to them, right? So they've got the Motion City Media thing. I'm like, you don't have to take all this crap off your walls, just declutter and prep it. And as I'm going through it, then I introduce it. So what I have here, this is our listing agreement. This is the paperwork that we just need to get started to sell your house. If we're on the same page about price, timing, commission, and a marketing plan, then we can go ahead and get this filled out and we can get to work right away. Now, I probably wasted a bunch of these because I do just start filling them out. You know, I kind of go for it, right? You start getting your information on there. That's generally when a commission question will come up. I need work on this part of the conversation, I would say, but I've gotten better at it for sure. You kind of just assume that I'll let them know, like, so the plan here, it looks like we're on the same page to list the house on the 31st. We'll list it for $399,999 as we discussed. We list for 5% plus $150 transaction fee. And then I just keep going. That's when they'll probably jump in and stop me. They're not thrilled about that, right? So they might catch you there. Oh, so you do 5%? Yeah, absolutely. And if there's any pushback there, I don't think I'm the best person to share a rebuttal on what I talk about with commissions, Joe, quite honestly.
No, it's quite all right, man. You usually, Sam, by the way, Sam gets 5% and he gets an admin fee as well. And he doesn't really, the reason why he's not good at it, or so he says he's not good at it, is because after he's gone through his presentation, by the way, I see Sam's listing agreements, and if there's a commission reduction, it goes by me, and I don't ever see him. So Sam, you're doing great, man. Your value proposition, by the way, in our team, we talk about the 4 conversations. So Sam's wall of value between conversation 1 and conversation 2 is really strong. So you don't worry about it, Sam. You don't really have to worry about it. If anyone has questions about rebuttals about commissions, we can talk about that. But if there's rebuttals about commissions, you probably didn't bring it, man. You probably didn't bring it, right? That's all I
I think that's probably right. Yeah, and there is something to be said about I don't, maybe I should, maybe some people, I'm sure coaches would push it the other way. I don't pull the listing agreement out every single time, right? There are definitely times where this is this is a meet and greet, it's a relationship builder. It would just be all wrong to take it out and start asking to sign paperwork, right? Like, you have to know that sometimes. I think you have to know that sometimes.
100%.
Yeah, you got to feel that thing out, man. Like I was known. I remember my first real estate coach I'll never forget, man. She would yell at me because I would go on. She'd be like, "How many listing appointments did you go on this week?" I'd be like, 4. She'd be like, "How many do you have signed?" I'd be like, 1. She'd be like, "What?" And like, what I would just so you guys know, in our organization, if someone's thinking about selling their house, dude, we'll just go meet with you. Like we in our organization, we do business because we get into relationship with people, not because we're trying to sell them something. That's it. We want to be a resource, and our mission statement is that the Joe Oz Real Estate Group exists to help our clients achieve their goals while helping our team members achieve theirs. So we've never been big on selling, right? And I remember my first real estate coach was like yelling, like she was so mad I wasn't getting signatures or pushing or asking 3 times, and I just don't want to do it that way, right? Sam, does that kind of sum it up, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. And it also gives you an opportunity to even make that relationship even stronger. What I say is, like, I always have to listen. So I'll say something like, well, listen, it sounds like we're on the same page. Obviously, your timing is my timing. I'm not here to rush you. I'm just here to share that information that I just shared with you. I have a listing agreement here in my bag. I'm not going to take it out and wave a pen in front of you. I understand that you're not quite there yet. You're still at your information gathering stage. I just want to make sure I've been a resource for you. That's going to get you a lot farther, I think, than like, sign it. Come on, I'm here. I spent all this time. Like, sign it up. So there's times where that just makes more sense to me. I do want to mention, Joe, before we've got 15 minutes, and I want to field questions if there are any at the end. Once we do, if that listing agreement gets filled out and signed, that's great. I take that right back. I do make a point of asking them if they are comfortable with digital signature. If I've been there for an hour and a half, sometimes like I can tell they're not going to want to go through the CIS and the lead-based paint and all these other forms they need to sign. And it's like, we're working together. Let's move on. I'll send them this stuff tomorrow via email if that's possible. Joe, is it okay if I talk about the listing logistics?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? I would say, well, let's do this. Let's stop. I guarantee there's gonna be questions. We can definitely go into that another time. The handoff. Hey guys, you guys have some questions for Sam? Sam, I think you absolutely murdered that. If you guys have questions, we can hop into that. If not, he can keep going on like the listing logistics form that he fills out for his listing coordinator. All right, Sam, keep going.
Great, keep going. This is going to save you a lot of time. This saves us a lot of time. This is just a Google sheet that we set up that is like kind of your basic. I tell them this as we get assigned, like, hey, I just need 5 more minutes of your time. These are the boring questions. I just want to make sure I have the information right. I don't trust that the previous listing was 100% accurate, right? So I want to make sure I get this right. This has all sorts of like what's included, what's excluded. We're reconfirming commission, timing. Is there going to be an open house? Did I put a lockbox on the door while I'm there? All these little things that are basically going to save me from having to have another conversation or go back to the house, right? Like, which if I'm busy, I don't always have time to do. So I'm sure we could probably share this with anybody who might think that this would be of any value to them. It's a really good checklist to have. It loads into a spreadsheet so you have all your information.
If I can jump in here, Sam, what Sam's really showing you here is there was a day I don't know. Sam goes on a lot of appointments, right? He meets with a lot of people. Last week there was a day where he went on 3 listing appointments, right? Well, everything in our organization is a system, right? That's it. So we can go really fast, right? Sam took 2 listings that one day, and then what he did is while he was there, when that person committed, he went over the listing logistics sheet, which is basically every single question that the MLS asks and anything that they're going to need to know. When Sam gets back to the office, he's going to do a handoff conversation with his listing coordinator. Then his listing coordinator, Sam's job is to go out there and sell houses. The listing coordinator's job is to make sure, take care of paperwork, make sure, like, Sam is in sales, the coordinator keeps us organized, right? And that's it. That's how we operate as a team, right? It's almost like a baton that gets handed off in like a race. So Sam's going to hand that baton off. And by the way, Sam's also going to tell the seller, by the way, my listing coordinator's name is Lauren. She's going to reach out and she's our client concierge. She's going to reach out to you and have a conversation. I'm going to give all this information to her. By the way, thank you for committing to me. Now my job is to go sell your house, right? So like, I'm going to make sure everyone at school, church, work, everyone, your neighbors, everybody on earth knows about your house. And we're going to sell it. We're going to do all the things we said to do. The person that keeps me organized is my listing coordinator. She's going to call tomorrow and introduce herself. Here's her name. Here's her phone number. Please take her call. She is smarter than me. She keeps me organized, and she's going to talk everything logistics with you. Anything sales is me. Anything logistics is going to be her. So, and then that's it. And that's why Sam Marx, by the way, can go out and sell 48 houses in a year and a half, because he has that leverage. And again, everything in our organization is a system. And so when he takes down, when he takes a listing, he just takes all the information and hands it off so he can go get some more. Because Sam's going on 2 to 3 appointments almost every day.
Well, the other thing that's, I'll chime in on is if they're having a conversation or there's any pushback on commission or the transaction fee or whatever, it's transparent about it on the front end. But like, when it's there, be like, this is standard, everybody charges it, but here's where you're getting to this. And as you go through the listing logistics thing, be like, a lot of times, especially if you're working with an off-market property or an expired property, be like, I don't know what happened in the last process, but did they dot all these I's and cross all these T's and have all these questions answered? For what we want to do is take friction out for the people that are coming to see your house and answer all their questions up ahead of time, so that when they're in the house, they're thinking about living in it and blah blah blah. And you're basically just circling back on your value proposition, and you're showing them exactly how much you have your shit together from the minute that you're in their thing. You were prepared when you showed up. You were on time. You have all this information. You're a market expert. You have stories about houses you sold around the corner and media from them. And then if they're talking about $150, $150 difference in an admin fee, you show them how there's like a $10,000 difference in the value that they're going to get on the back end of the service and the competency of the deal not falling apart or exploding or home inspections becoming a disaster. because we have all these questions answered and the seller's disclosure filled out, and somebody as professional as Lauren to answer the phone and provide all the information. If you start to connect the dots, and as you start to ramp up and see the system move like this, it really is a better level of service. And then you can start to just talk about it while it's happening. And as you introduce the players in the game, i.e. our media company, i.e. Lauren, i.e. your director of sales, and Joe sold 700 houses, like they should be, if you're articulate about it and you actually understand it, they're really going to get what's going on. If you were just starting out, you're going to look extremely professional when you have all this going on. And, you're just going to be assuring them that you've got all the details in place and your I's dotted and your T's crossed.
Yeah. I just want to make sure, I'm just looking at the chat here. I'm seeing a couple. Jeff asked about Wi-Fi. That's a good question. I always mobile hotspot my phone. I just set it up right away, and it's like a little awkward. I'm like, I'm just going to grab your internet. Sometimes they'll offer me theirs, and if they don't have to like turn the TV over to get it, then I'll grab it. That's great. But I like to just assume that I'm going to have to use my own phone for that. So know how to do a hotspot before you show up. That one's definitely important.
You have Wi-Fi like in your Maserati, right? Like you just connect to your Wi-Fi in your Lambo.
Yeah. It does it automatically for me. It's like
sorry, I pronounced Subaru really weird just then. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a weird one. And then I see Jonathan did ask for the listing logistics checklist. Lauren, I'm sure that's something that we can make a copy of.
If you guys like fast forward movie, right? And just get in there, man. We're gonna drop all that stuff. John, we're gonna drop all that stuff in there for sure. In our group. It's open to anyone, by the way. We're just gonna drop everything in there. And again, whatever you guys want, we want to give it to you. So John, we'll get.
It'll be in the show notes. This podcast brought to you by Squarespace.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, when I listen to my favorite podcast, they're like talk about some obscure artist from wherever, and they're like, don't worry, we'll put it in the show notes. And I'm like, nice. So I'm gonna nerd out on it later. We're gonna make sure you guys have everything. What other questions?
If there's no questions right now, I just want to like make a final comment on kind of tone and something that I've been learning the whole time about just being in sales in general. It's like if you ever had like a contractor come to your house to look at like your basement or like the bathroom or anything like that, they don't like come in and tell you how great your screwed up bathroom is, right? Like they come in and they're like, this is really screwed. Like you probably have to tear out the whole thing, like, or like who installed this? They're really direct, right? And they also like they come in right to your house with their boots on and like stomp dirt all over the place, but like they come in and like they're the professional. And I'm like, you're like, oh, I don't know shit about building houses. So I guess I'll just listen to this guy. You shouldn't be stomping dirt into people's houses when you show up, but like you have to come in and be in control. And the whole time, like, yes, you should be friendly and personable, but like you are the professional there the entire time. I have to kind of remind myself that every 20 minutes or so within my appointment that like they need me to tell them the truth. So you should do that.
All right, guys, we're gonna wrap this up, man. I got another train to hop on. Dude, did you everybody on this call, did you guys get some value out of this? Some thumbs up, some yeses. I hope everyone loved it. Sam, that was awesome, man. I think you absolutely nailed it. I learned a ton. And I think my biggest aha is that you have a process, you have a system, you're prepared, and you show up as a professional. And that's awesome, man. Congrats, dude. Thanks for taking the time to do this, man. This is really valuable.
Thank you for having me. I hope you'll get some value out of it.
And then, so guys, just to recap this thing. So we're going to drop all of our stuff. We have our Facebook group is called Fast Forward East Coast. We're going to send everybody invites. All of our stuff that we talk about, we're going to drop in there. We're going to send you guys there's like an Instagram as well for that. We're going to add you guys on there just so you guys can get all this stuff. Our goal is just to bring value and to learn together, right? That's really it. And next week on this training, we have, I think Audrey Lee, right? Like Audrey Lee works for Zillow, and Audrey Lee is a senior advisor, a growth advisor that is taking the most successful teams in Zillow, helping them scale. When I say helping them scale, I mean taking it from 10 agents to 100 and just growing. We're talking about new agents closing 50 deals a year. And she's not our coach. She's just a friend of ours, and she agreed to come on and do a training with us about best practices with converting like internet leads and things like that. I think it's actually what not to do, which I think is even better. Like she is going to call you out for all the bad habits that you have with your leads. So, all right, guys, we'll see everyone soon. If you're on my team, I'll see you in 5 minutes for Zillow Flex training. Bye.
Killing it, Sam. Good job.
Thank you, everyone.